So it is a fantastic day, of course, for sanity, for common sense, but I think more broadly for women, for humanity. The stance that I've taken, the stance that 90% of Americans, and I would imagine 99% of elite level athletes have, that men should not be in women's sports. It's harmful to women to allow such.
People have been speculating, is Brittney Griner actually a female or a male?
All right, let's break this wild drama down. And trust me, you'll want to grab your popcorn for this one. So guess who's back stirring the controversy pot like it's her morning coffee? Yep, Riley Gaines. But this time, she's not just ranting about trans athletes in general. She's coming straight for the WNBA's neck. According to Riley, the league has been keeping a massive secret. They allegedly told players not to talk about anything regarding Brittney Griner's gender. No questions, no side comments, not even whispers. Basically, shut up and dribble, but make it suspicious. Now Riley's claiming that ever since she's aired this out, she's been blacklisted. Like really blacklisted, as in don't look her in the eye energy. Creepy silence, cover up silence. The kind of silence that makes people start asking, what the heck is actually going on with Brittney Griner? And that's where it gets messy. If you've been following Riley since the Leah Thomas swimming saga, you know she doesn't just talk. She goes full warrior mode. After tying with Leah at the NCAA finals, Riley basically clocked into battle. She didn't just raise a concern, she launched a full-on campaign like she was running for captain of biological fairness. And now she's throwing Brittney Griner into the fire, accusing the WNBA of hiding Griner's true gender identity. Even if half of what Riley is saying is true, then yikes. The WNBA is in serious trouble.
I can't even get an intro out because, guys, it is now confirmed. Brittney Griner, Brett Griner, I don't know what to actually call them. But it seems like him. Brittney Griner has confirmed that she is a male. She's a man. And it's all because she's confirming seemingly that she fathered.
Now let's take a step back. Why would the WNBA go to such extremes to protect Griner? Well, for starters, if Riley's accusations are even remotely accurate and Brittney's gender status was kept under wraps, then boom, scandal of the decade. We're talking lawsuits, player outrage, record reviews, and a media meltdown. Everything from her championship wins to MVP honors would be called into question. It wouldn't just rattle the league, it could collapse it. Second, history would need a serious rewrite. Imagine scrubbing Griner's achievements from the books. Medals? Questioned. Records? Contested. Legacy? Shattered. It would be the ultimate delete your account moment in sports history. That video of her holding her first WNBA championship trophy, grinning ear to ear, poof, suddenly not worth the gold it's molded in. And then there's the third reason, and it's a big one. Griner isn't just a basketball player, she's the face of the league, the one who made headlines around the globe, the American citizen held in a Russian prison, the woman the U.S. literally traded an arms dealer to bring home. That's not just a comeback story, it's an international drama. That's Netflix documentary material. When she came home, the league welcomed her like royalty. Cameras flashing, fans chanting, "Free BG." She didn't just return, she made a statement. She even said she's never going overseas to play again, unless it's for the Olympics. That's how deep her experience changed her. And that's where Riley Gaines came into the picture. Because while everyone else was standing and applauding Brittney Griner's return like she was a hero descending from the heavens, Riley, she wasn't clapping. Not even a golf clap. She was watching, questioning, and when everyone was praising the comeback, Riley was preparing a comeback of her own, one that would turn the conversation completely on its head.
Thursday night, Indiana Fever and Atlanta Dream played. Indiana Fever is where Caitlin Clark plays. Atlanta Dream is where Brittney Griner plays. Now you tell me what it looks like Brittney Griner is saying here.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
For a little bit of context, this was in the fourth quarter after Brittney Griner fouled out against Caitlin Clark, and Indiana Fever would go on to win by 5. Now I'm going to tell you what I think she said. Let's play it back. Looks to me like she is saying trash and then calling Caitlin Clark a bleep white girl. Just a reminder, this is who Joe Biden traded for the Russian merchant of death. So many WNBA players hate Caitlin Clark so much when she is the best thing that could have happened to the league. And she's not the best thing that happened to the league because she's white, it's because she's a good player. It's because she's the best player. Now, imagine if Caitlin Clark said the inverse of this. It would be reprehensible, condemned, and understandably so.
So how did we even get here? How did one swimmer from Tennessee end up in the center of a firestorm surrounding one of the WNBA's most recognizable stars? It all goes back to Riley Gaines, the same girl who turned what seemed like a tie at a swim meet into a national debate when she went head-to-head with Leah Thomas at the NCAA Women's Swimming Championships and ended up tying for 5th place. Something clicked for her. Something shifted. And no, it wasn't just bitterness or rivalry. To Riley, that moment marked a turning point, not just in her career, but in how she viewed the future of women's sports altogether. She didn't just throw a little shade at the system, she built a whole bonfire. Riley decided she wasn't just a swimmer anymore. She became an advocate, a critic, a megaphone for what she calls biological fairness. She clocked in like she had a mission, to challenge everything she believed was slowly, silently unraveling the integrity of women's sports. And what made Riley's voice stand out wasn't just her passion, it was her unapologetic, no-holds-barred energy. She didn't tiptoe around the issue. She marched straight in. Her core message? That allowing biological males to compete in women's sports, even if they identify as female, puts real female athletes at a disadvantage, physically, emotionally, and even in terms of safety. She didn't frame it as an issue of politics or identity. She framed it as survival, as fairness, and in her eyes, that was worth going to war over. In one interview that's been clipped, stitched, and reposted thousands of times, Riley laid it out plainly. The stance I have taken, she said, is the stance that 90% of Americans, and I would imagine 99% of elite-level athletes have, that men should not be in women's sports. It's harmful to women to allow such. And whether you agree with her or not, the impact of her words was immediate. You could feel the tension spike.
My take is just about the least controversial take on the entire planet. It's described as an 80-20 issue. I think it's more drastic than that. I think it's a 90-10 issue, if not even more than that. 90% of Americans, of course, believing that men don't belong in women's sports, but for saying that out loud, publicly and unapologetically, you're really met with some of the most hostile and oftentimes violent encounters that you could possibly imagine.
Now fast forward to present day. Riley's not just talking about NCAA meets anymore. She's looking straight at the WNBA and calling out what she claims is a massive cover-up. And the name she dropped? Brittney Griner. According to Riley, the WNBA has allegedly instructed players to keep quiet about Griner's gender. Not to question it, not to joke about it, not even to mention it. Riley claimed league officials told athletes in no uncertain terms, don't speak on Brittney. Don't ask, don't make it a thing. In her words, the entire league was operating under some unwritten gag order. And the moment Riley started speaking publicly about it, she was iced out, shunned, blacklisted like she had just exposed a state secret. And here's the thing, this isn't Riley speculating in the dark. This is Riley standing under a spotlight, megaphone in hand saying, look closer, something's not right. Now this wasn't the first time Riley Gaines had something to say about Brittney Griner. In fact, if Brittney didn't have haters, Riley probably wouldn't have a mission. Their names have been circling the same arena for a while now, and Riley has never been shy about where she stands, especially when it comes to what she sees as disrespect, not just in sports, but toward the very country that brought Griner home. Let's rewind to mid-July 2024. Social media erupted with posts that claimed Riley had finally broken her silence on something she'd been biting her tongue about for a long time. Brittney Griner kneeling during the national anthem. While most of the sports world had moved on or shrugged it off as professional expression, Riley allegedly didn't. According to a post that spread like wildfire, Riley reportedly said, "You don't have to sing or anything, but you need to show some respect for the country that saved you from a Russian gulag." Just like that, the comment section exploded. The quote got shared, posted, debated, and dragged into every basketball forum, TikTok comment thread, and Facebook feed that followed women's sports. And whether or not Riley actually said those words verbatim, it didn't matter, because the sentiment was pure Riley. People believed it because it sounded exactly like something she'd say. The alleged quote didn't stop there. Another version floated around with a sting even sharper. Disrespecting the flag is akin to spitting on the graves of those who sacrificed their lives to protect it. And even though the source of that quote was unnamed, Riley's followers were nodding in agreement. To them, this wasn't just about one basketball player kneeling. This was about the broader picture. Athletes who, in Riley's view, used the spotlight to criticize the very system that built them up. The backlash was swift, but so was the defense. Some fans argue that kneeling wasn't disrespectful at all. One commentator wrote, "To me, kneeling is a sacred act. You kneel to pray, you kneel to honor. Why are people offended when someone kneels in reflection?" But to Riley, that wasn't the point. The way she saw it, Brittney wasn't kneeling out of reverence, she was doing it as a symbol of protest. And while Riley respected freedom of expression, she felt there were lines that shouldn't be crossed, especially by someone who'd just been rescued by the very flag they were now rejecting. The story caught so much fire that it even drew the attention of Snopes, the internet's fact-checking watchdogs. They investigated the claims and traced them back to a satirical Facebook page known for making up outrageous headlines. Technically, the quote was fake. It came from a meme posted by America's Last Line of Defense, a parody outlet that openly labels its content as satire. In fact, the meme even had a shiny satire badge in the corner, which most people missed while screenshotting and sharing. But even though it was born from a joke, it landed like the truth. Because satire or not, it echoed what so many believed Riley could have or would have said. And that was enough to get the internet talking. Then there was another time when Riley Gaines found herself side-eyeing Brittney Griner, and once again, it set the internet on fire. It was July 2024, and Brittney had just welcomed a baby boy. During an interview, she spoke with genuine joy and emotion, calling her son "my man," and sharing how much her world had changed the moment he arrived. Everything sounded sweet, heartfelt, and wholesome, until she casually dropped the word that made everyone, especially Riley, do a double take. Dad. Yep, Brittney Griner, WNBA star, publicly referred to herself as a dad. Not a mom, not a parent, a dad. And while most fans were still in the comment section saying, "Aw," Riley Gaines hit X, formerly Twitter, with a 5-word post that said it all. "I have so many questions." No names were mentioned, no explanation needed. Everybody instantly knew who she meant and why it struck a nerve. Riley didn't need a paragraph to get her point across. That tweet was pure fire. For someone who has built her entire platform around fighting for clarity in women's sports, that one word "dad" was enough to send her spiraling. To her, this wasn't just a parenting choice, it was a symbol of how the lines between male and female, mother and father, athlete and advocate, were getting blurred beyond recognition. And worse, it was coming from one of the most high-profile women in sports. In Riley's mind, this was exactly the kind of thing she'd been warning about for years. A woman in the WNBA calling herself a dad wasn't just strange, it was, in her view, more proof that womanhood was being diluted, erased, redefined without consent. She said it loud and clear before. There's a war on women. And now Brittney had just handed her more ammo. The internet lit up. Some people defended Brittney, saying parenting terms are personal and fluid. Others backed Riley, saying definitions matter, especially when they come from public figures with massive influence. But one thing was clear. Riley's 5-word tweet had once again pulled her and Brittney into the spotlight. And just like that, the Gaines versus Griner saga picked up a brand new chapter. And now, as mentioned more than once, the real storm brewing beneath all of this is Brittney's gender. The controversy refuses to die down because every time something questionable surfaces, the silence from the league gets louder. Let's be honest, if anyone else had posted that kind of content online, AI bots would have flagged it within 10 seconds flat. But when Brittney Griner's shirtless videos or eyebrow-raising interviews appear, it's radio silence. Combine that with the persistent Russian prison rumors, the alleged media blackout, and Riley being treated like she leaked state secrets. It's all starting to feel less like coincidence and more like a carefully managed narrative, and not in a good way. Now let's dig deeper and see if there's any real truth to these rumors, or if Brittney's story dismantles the speculation. She was born in Houston, Texas in 1990. From a young age, Brittney was different, not just because she was tall or athletic, but because she didn't fit neatly into society's box of what a girl is supposed to be. By middle school, she was already over 6 feet tall. Her deep voice, lanky frame, and tomboy style led to relentless bullying. She was teased, mocked, and often misgendered. But instead of crumbling, she channeled that hurt into something powerful: basketball. At Nimitz High School, she began to turn heads. Her dunks went viral. She was making headlines as a teenager, shattering gender expectations with every game. But even then, whispers followed her. Some people just didn't see her as a rising star, they saw her as a question mark. Still, she kept pushing. She led her high school team to the Texas State Finals and dominated her opponents with a kind of power and grace that had scouts scrambling. College was where Brittney became a household name. At Baylor University, she was unstoppable. She led the team to a national championship, broke NCAA records, and became the face of women's college basketball. And yet, even with all the accolades and triumphs, the gossip didn't stop. People whispered, theories formed, but Brittney never addressed them directly. She played, she won, she kept moving. Her jump to the WNBA was inevitable. Drafted first overall, she instantly brought a new level of attention to the Phoenix Mercury. She was dunking in games, blocking shots left and right, and setting records. Off the court, she became known for her unapologetic identity. In 2013, she came out as gay, one of the first major female athletes to do so publicly. It was a bold move, especially for someone already under intense scrutiny. She was proud, she was visible, and she was defiant in the face of critics. But the criticism never really went away. Instead, it evolved. As her fame grew, so did the theories. Her voice was too deep, her shoulders too broad, her mannerisms too masculine. These weren't just casual observations. They were ammunition for those determined to question her womanhood. And while Brittney never fed the rumors, she never denied them either. She simply lived her life, refusing to shrink herself to fit in anyone else's comfort zone. Then came the Russian prison saga. In 2022, Brittney was detained in Moscow for carrying vape cartridges containing hash oil. The story gripped the world. She was sentenced to 9 years in a penal colony. For nearly a year, she disappeared from public view. No press, no updates, just silence. And that silence became fertile ground for more theories. The biggest one? That Brittney wasn't sent to a women's prison at all, but to a men's facility. The rumor exploded. TikTok was flooded with investigations. Threads went viral. And still no official clarification came from the US government or the WNBA. When Brittney was finally released in a high-profile prisoner swap, the hero's welcome was undeniable. She was embraced like a national treasure. The WNBA rolled out the red carpet, but the questions hadn't gone away. If anything, they had intensified, especially after an Instagram video showed Brittney walking around shirtless. No scars, no tape, no compression vest, just a flat chest. And again, the internet lit up. Some called it body shaming, others called it proof. But one thing no one could deny, the league's refusal to even acknowledge the controversy. Now, here we are, right smack in the middle of a storm no one asked for. But somehow, everyone's got front row seats to. The headlines are louder than ever. The tweets are flying. The videos are going viral. And right at the center of it all, two women, Riley Gaines, loud and unrelenting, and Brittney Griner, quiet and steady. One throws public jabs like it's her mission. The other answers with silence so thick, it's starting to feel less like absence and more like intention. Because let's be honest, this silence isn't just about protecting privacy anymore. It's looking strategic, calculated. And even if a fraction of the rumors are true, even if one thread leads to something real, then what we're dealing with here is so much more than personal identity. We're talking about eligibility. We're talking about fair play, about the rules of professional sport, about transparency, about trust, and potentially about fraud on an international level. But in the middle of all this chaos, there's something people keep skipping over. Brittney's lived her entire life under a microscope. From the moment she stepped onto a basketball court, people were already questioning her. Not just her skills, but her existence, her body, her voice, her choices. From school bullies to online critics, from sports journalists to political commentators, Brittney Griner has had every inch of her life dissected in public view. And yet she didn't quit. She played, she led, she stood tall, and sometimes she knelt in protest. She took hits on and off the court. She survived a Russian prison, and still, she came back. She didn't ask to be a movement. She didn't ask to be a symbol. All she ever asked was to play ball, to represent her country, to be treated like any other professional athlete. And yet here we are, years into her career, and her humanity is still up for debate. That's not just tough, that's exhausting. So whether you're Team Riley, Team Brittney, or just Team I'm trying to figure it out, one thing is clear. This is about way more than one controversial post or an eyebrow-raising interview. This is about how society reacts to women who don't fit perfectly into neat little boxes. It's about the way we treat public figures who challenge the traditional mold. And it's about how quick we are to question authenticity and how slow we are to show empathy. But let's take it to you. Yeah, you watching right now. After hearing all of this, what do you think? What's your take on Brittney Griner's identity? Do you think Riley just is stirring the pot for attention? Or is she pointing out something real? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We actually do read them. And hey, while we wait for this drama to unfold even further, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. Trust me, this story is far from over.